Hello and welcome to another tier list. This is the tier list of every guy you will ever meet. Now, my last tier list video, the one I effectively ripped off the yard before it ended up happening, it's my best video on the channel actually. 2.2k views. So thank you very much for that, I will say. And now enough soppiness. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this tier list. Now, you will notice immediately that I have changed what was previously, I believe, Death Penalty to Gold Experience Requiem. Because, two reasons. Number one, I think it would be, like, for posterity, I don't feel very comfortable putting anyone in a tier list that says Death Penalty. And what that would just conclude in is that I would just not put anyone in there. Because, like, you know that quote, the quote about like some people deserve death, some people deserve life. The Gandalf Lord of the Rings one, you know the one. That's kind of my vibe. However, instead I've replaced it with Gold Experience Requiem. Now, if you're familiar with Part 5 JoJo, if you're not, then spoilers, I guess. If you are familiar with it, let's just say this implies some sort of like endless psychological, maybe even physical, torturous experience. The idea of which is to maybe like, put the error of your ways. Now, I will say, where is the B? First of all, okay, I think I messed this order up a little bit. How about we add a row below here? Hold on, let me just, here we go. Adjusted for inflation. I put a full stop in it for some reason. Don't worry about it. The homie at the S tier, pretty cool at the A tier, and I put the alright at the B tier because I think the alright is better than harmless, but certainly not as good as pretty cool. You know what I mean? And then we have harmless, cringe, jail, which I think I'll keep jail at least for now, and Gold Experience Requiem. Just to sort of state it. And we got our list of guys here now because this is a sort of American millennial coded. A lot of this is like what's available here is geared towards the what do you call it, that sphere of discussion of which we are all sort of melted in, but it is what it is, don't worry about it. Can proudly rap fast, is white. Again, this is a like element of discourse. It's not really element that I'm familiar with, but I'm gonna say they're alright. If you've honed a skill, and I think maybe this would have been weirder in the decades since Eminem, but Eminem has sort of risen and perhaps fallen. I don't know. I'm unfamiliar. Genuinely, this is not like me playing up a bit. This is not my sphere of understanding, really. But I don't really find myself too, like, apropos of no other information, I don't have any existing biases to put me against that. And out of all the things to be proud of, this is really not very, like, I would put it in harmless, but honestly, like, hey, you know what, I'll put it in harmless. I don't have a positive, like, association with it either, so I think that's fair. Car Guy Classics? I assume this means Car Guy Classics, like, liking those 70s, like, old cars. I'll put it also in harmless, maybe even the alright. But classics, I'll put it in harmless because here's my like problem with it, right? Is that, and this happens in every hobby, but because I am the like victim in this interaction, I have to mention it here. I'm not a car guy. I don't know jack about cars, right? So when a car guy, but everyone has a car, asterisk income pending, showing your wealth distribution, etc., etc. But everyone, if you're an American, you probably have a car, and if you're Australian like me, you also probably have a car, especially if you want to go pretty much anywhere, unless you're young like me, in which case you at least have got like a license to drive somebody else's car, right? Which is similar. But point being, you don't know, if you're like me and you don't know that much about cars, then this guy can be very annoying. I think I need to change, I'm gonna say cringe/annoying, which is, what the hell did they do there? cringe slash annoying, which is different things, but I think like they express different attributes to me. But anyway, the car guy will usually like look down on you for not knowing some stuff about cars, right? And that's why I'm like, I hesitate to put it above harmless, because usually they'll help you, but they'll also condescend to you a little bit. Like, what do you mean you don't know how to like? And all I can think of is doing oil change. But that example, I think I could probably handle an oil change. But anything beyond that is probably beyond me. You know, like I'm safely in the boat of people who will who will get overcharged and be happy with it for a simple job that a mechanic will provide, and I think that's okay. Type of person to pay by double for a mechanic to do a thing that could otherwise be done at home with very little cost if they knew how, that's fine by me, okay? That guy is bringing his computer into work, and I'm overcharging that guy, okay? So there's a balance to every expertise, so that's fine. Messy hair dad wearing Vans. Isn't this just like an archetypical guy these days? Like, I don't know. I don't really. This is like fine by me. Vans. Okay, I think I. No, never mind. Vans are not Crocs. My brain. Vans are the white Vans from Damn Daniel. I don't know shoes either, as you can know. Like, now you're beginning to ask the question, what the fuck does this guy know about if he doesn't know this either? Don't worry about it. So, Vans. They must have an association for some people. To me, they're just shoes. I know Converse, but that's mostly because of the sitting in on some discussions about fashion. Like, I don't really know anything else about them. I'm kind of a messy hair kind of guy. So, honestly, the messy hair dad wearing Vans is alright in my book, okay? I don't. If you're the dad is doing the heavy lifting. Messy hair guy wearing Vans, cringe. If you're a father, I think you've, like, in this, especially nowadays, I think if you're opting into fatherhood, the bar is like higher these days. So I give you a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. But that might be my, again, bias, right? I think it's fine. Whatever. Live your life. Can proudly rap fast isn't white. Equally harmless. This is like, I understand that this may seem like signaling. I just literally, it's an attribute of yourself, right? That's fine to me. Like, the majority of people are in this demographic. Like, I have to imagine the majority of people who can proudly rap fast probably aren't white, because that also includes everyone in Asia, everyone in Africa, everyone, like, there are more non-white people than white people. I think statistically that is true, right? I don't know if that's true, like, for sure, to be honest with you. And I think now we're getting into the weeds of like Europe and whatever. So I don't even need to go there. But the point being, this is like equally irrelevant to me. So I apologize if you were looking for something more interesting. Has never not worked at Verizon. Has always worked at Verizon. I'm gonna say, just like, because this is no fun if I just say like, oh, I don't know, cringe and annoying. Mostly because, like, if you're this is either your only job, or you went from like the bottom to the top in an era where that was possible. And either way, I think like moving jobs, moving lifestyles is the kind of thing that will get you a little bit more well-rounded anyway. So like, my bias here is that they would probably be a little annoying by virtue of having lived either a straightforward or an unremarkable life. I feel like that's statistically likely, and that's fine. The best case scenario is that this guy is boring. You would rather be boring than the alternative. The skater, in this day and age, harmless. If you're a skater now, you're doing it for the love of the game. I don't see like this. It's not as big as it was, certainly. So if you're doing it now, then you really are, like, I very rarely see skaters, or like once in a blue moon you see someone that looks like the archetype of a skater, and you're like, they still make those, it's a nice little pleasant like mirror into a reality. But for me, couldn't care less. I'll say it. Apple hater, they're alright, to be honest with you. but I'm gonna put him in cringe/annoying because Apple hate was good like a while ago now. Back when it was sort of people had to be told, right? But honestly, now with the way that technology is, right? If you're an Apple hater, what can you hate them for? Number one thing, price. A lot of things are expensive these days. But if I'm gonna be honest with you, I've come like not full circle, but half circle maybe, fighting game input or whatever, on Apple, which is like they charge you a lot, but the surcharge is a peace of mind surcharge. It's like it's knowing that you're going to get what you're paying for in some way or another, right? The new MacBooks are probably the best laptops you could buy in this day and age, minus compatibility perhaps, but I don't even think that's a huge issue these days, right? Their phones, ever since the phone industry sort of like streamlined, now we're sort of getting the absence of interesting phones. The most interesting type of phone right now are like the foldables, and if you can hear these, I've got one, but that's just because I've been a Samsung guy, and it's just sort of like inertia that's put me on this path. But just because I like a little quirky thing, I like a little pen, I like a little foldability. I can't just have a phone with nothing in it. Like every phone is with nothing in it, and Apple is sort of stable in that sense, right? When you're buying an iPhone, you're buying exactly an iPhone, which is like, it's expensive. It's a luxury good. Like at this point, what are we even hating? You know what I mean? It's like hating Rolexes for being expensive. It's like, yeah, man, that's the Rolex. It's the expensive thing. I don't know, what are we doing here? So like that cringe. If you're still on the bandwagon, then I have to imagine like it's just miserable for you. The clueless one, low key dumb. I mean, I'm bordering between harmless and cringe/annoying. I'm gonna say annoying, okay? I am this sometimes. We all are this sometimes. If your guy archetype is being clueless and low key dumb, then at some point it does start to wear on you. Okay? It starts to wear on you because if you're around the clueless one, then like somebody's got to explain it to the guy, somebody's got to like clarify it. And what inevitably happens is some sort of self-deprecation that is not fun, right? So I think like if you're gonna be the clueless one, you're allowed to be clueless and stupid. But if your personality is that you're the guy who's clueless and stupid, then it becomes, like annoying. Like what are you making fun of at this point? So like what are you making up for rather? And I guess who are you making fun of? A lot of stuff going on. The guitar guy. When I picture guitar guy, I'm picturing acoustic. I assume they mean acoustic. Guitar guy is a little annoying. The kind of guy who's carrying around his guitar is annoying, but like to me, and also like they know they're annoying. They're opting into a specific brand, and it's not my brand. You see with some of my later choices what kind of brand I go for. But there's the guy who's always carrying around his guitar, who's looking for an opportunity to whip out the guitar, is cringe and annoying because it's attention seeking, and it's not something that I like. So I'm obviously not going to reward it. But as you may see in later options, I'm going to reward things that other people don't like. But that's just like, if you wanted your own list, you could make your own list. I'm sure I've linked it in the description. If I haven't, put a comment, make me do it. Also like, comment, subscribe, additional YouTuber stuff. I guess what are we, 14 minutes in the video? Like that makes sense to say, right? Cosplay hiker, Patagonia Peter. So this Patagonia, I know they got the quadriceps, right? So this is like somebody who's appearing, who's co-opting an aesthetic of hiking without really doing it. I'm contemplating jail here. I think this is like the prototype of like alpha male grind set, but for people who for the type of people who are like in like high level business type jobs, right? Is though you'll get the expensive quarter zips and clothing, and you also you'll get like the appearance of a life and fulfilling hobbies to make it seem like you're a fleshed out person. This is how I see this like description here. And so I don't know, maybe I need to replace jail with like some sort of something that because I think jail is not really what I mean here, but like how about change that ways? Maybe change your ways because that just like came out. I don't think that's what I mean. Change your ways. Full stop. There we go. Because I think like you gotta not be this guy is what I mean to say. You have to either spec into hiking and be a hiker first and a fancy guy second, or don't pretend. And I think then you're fine. Messy car guy. I think there's literally nothing wrong with the messy car guy. His car is just messy. Cleaning a car is like a pain in the ass, especially like you spill something and then you don't notice it until later and it's already like encrusted or whatever. Unless you can see it and touch it in your day to day, cleaning the car is just something that you do when something like when it overflows into truly messiness. I don't think a messy car is any big deal. As long as it's not like on the seats, the seats have to be more or less clear. If the, under seats and the boot is all got like a bunch of shit in it, then it's as long as it's not too stinky either. But they didn't say stinky car guy. That would be a different problem. Car guy, anime sticker, Honda Civic. That's the homie, bro. That's my man right there. Somebody listen. I know you're gonna say, but like these guys, some of these guys, like their aesthetic is they're like pretending, right? If you're a guitar guy, my assumption is that you're somewhat pretending. Modern parlance, you might call it LARPing, even though LARP came from. We're not gonna litigate the linguistic history of the phrase, but times change. But like all of these people are pretending, right? But this person is not pretending. They're letting everyone know, right? And suffice to say, I support it. Okay? I support the Itasha, I support the waifu cars. Because I think what you're doing is you're signaling like this is the kind of person I am. If you don't fuck with me, like let's cut the band-aid. Let's rip the band-aid off real quick. And I can respect that, and also it's I'm the in group in this situation, so of course I'm chill with it. Redneck who lives in the city, so bogan to translate it for our Australian audience, which I'm sure I have, right, guys? Anyway, so redneck who lives in the city. A little annoying, to be honest with you. It's fine. You can. By the way, all of these things you can be. I think once you're past annoying, the bottom two is I'm like you can't be. You can be these things. I just find it annoying. That's why there's a difference. That's why the guitar guy is here and the Patagonia Peter is here. There's a difference. So redneck who lives in the city / bogan, right? It's always like a small fish, big pond, big fish, small pond. There's like a bit of contrast. There's like we do things differently, It become you quite often will overcompensate or undercompensate. You try to fit in too much, or you make your whole personality about the fact that this you silly folk go crazy type of situation. So I think it leads itself to being annoying. that's just a situation that ends. Not listening, waiting to talk. There was like always listening, not talking, right? Not listening, waiting to talk is alright in my book. I think it's fine in most circumstances. Like if you're in a conversation and you're not listening, I feel like most people have been here in some circumstance. In a one-on-one, I think this is different, right? In a group situation, it's like okay, that's fine because we're betting in the group situation. It's like a little gamble, which of us will make the right conversational turn, right? And I think in this situation, like you're being, I think it's bad. To be honest, maybe I should put it like here. I think it's bad, but it's alright. Does that make sense? Like I don't think it's very. I don't think it's conducive to a great society, but at the same time, have if all of us have done it, which I assume all of us have, because like when you're on the other side of a conversation which you really don't feel involved in or like that you should be participating in, things can you can't really blame a guy for not listening. You have to say something of value to listen, right? But then the waiting to talk part is maybe the more concerning part. But honestly, I think that this is all of us in a sense. So I think that's fine. Extremely nice, not funny. That's pretty cool. I don't think you need to be funny. I think you need some people who are funny. But I think extremely nice people are good to have around to like humanity and empathy check you sometimes. Like I'll say this as a guy who's like I wouldn't describe myself as necessarily too empathetic, right? I think I go about certain analyses of this kind in a very like cold sort of way, right? Maybe emotional, no, like I detach from my emotions in some of these evaluations is what I mean to say, right? But all things considered, I think it's nice to have someone who's genuinely nice, means well, to sort of give you a different outlook on the situation. I think it's just a valuable perspective to have. Always lying, I mean, just change. Quite simply change your ways. You can't always be lying. I mean, you can lie a lot. If you watch Catch Me If You Can, good movie, you can lie a lot. But I wouldn't I wouldn't put you in the eternal torture chamber until you change your ways. Because I think like always lying, and I hate to be the guy who turns everything into like a this person has an undiagnosed medical issue that could be affecting this, because I think that's like kicks all the fun out of a conversation, right? So, but I think like always lying is just like an absence of the self, right? Or at the very least, like you're projecting an image that is not you at all. And what I think that like you should at least present like some facsimile of yourself so that there's a reasonable conversation and back and forth going on. But it's just you can't always be lying. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, YouTuber, I'm gonna say it, harmless. It's bordering cringe, but you know what? I'll put it in cringe. I'm a YouTuber. It's a little cringe. Okay, the fact that I'm still digging these mines for 5 views. That's I think honorable. Okay, I see myself as an honorable like in my heart of hearts. If you give me truth serum, I see myself as like a coal miner infant. Doing like child labor. Like I'm like slaving away at the coal mines, digging for the people, and no one respects me or whatever. In my soul of souls, I do believe this. But anyway, that being the case, like you can't really, honestly, I think we sort of had an up down period. Now right now, YouTubing is sort of like we're in the like long form slop era of YouTube, I think, where previously we were in like the 8 minute to 12 minute video era, right? And then there's shorts, which is I wouldn't describe that as being a YouTuber or describe that as being a short form creator because that just translates across mediums, right? But if you're a YouTuber right now, you're doing video essays, you're doing like half an hour plus dives, you're doing podcasts. I think that's broadly speaking, if you were to average out the concept of a podcast, it's cringe. I love podcasts, certain podcasts as well, but I think it's fair to appreciate that it is. You have to look outside a little bit and be like, we're in a cringe house. It's fine. Tyler the Creator fan. I don't know anything about Tyler the Creator. I'm gonna say harmless. All I know is the clip where he does like a freestyle about butt sex. I have no feelings about Tyler the Creator. Let's just move on. Instagram tourist, like people who go. I think honestly, I'm gonna say this: Instagram tourists are alright. At least, like it's a transparent motive, in my opinion, right? If you're an Instagram tourist, what are you doing? You're going to a place, you're taking photos, and you're posting them on Instagram. Like that's so nothing. That's so normal in this day and age. And trust me, I am in many cases, I despise normal as much as the next guy, as not as much more than the next guy, if you're gonna put it like in honest terms. At times, but I think this is one of those situations where you genuinely have to look at the alternatives for tourism, right? What is the best case scenario for tourism, right? The best case scenario is that if you're a tourist, you show up, you spend more money than you should, you have a great time, you come back, you're like, it's so nice there, You get scammed a little bit, but that's okay, you don't notice it, right? I think that's the ideal. If you're going to a place that you've never, like, you're just there to take pictures and have a nice time and be a prototypical tourist or whatever. Like, what is the alternative is to not be performatively not be an Instagram tourist. Be like, no, I'm not here to take any photos whatsoever. I don't want to pose. I don't want to do anything. I'm just, it'd be disrespectful to the culture not to like. You think that's an over adjustment to be the guy who's like overly protective of a culture that he is not like at all. Like he's a tourist and yet, you know what I mean, right? And I know I'm probably describing myself when I go to Japan and eventually, inevitably, but still, right? I think that the Instagram tourist is. I will not go as far as to say they're pretty cool, right? They're just the people, and I think, given the options in the genre, I'll put them above harmless. I think they're doing good things in the sense that like I couldn't really. Maybe I think like 10 years ago you could probably be like, oh, cringe doing or taking selfies, but like nowadays, like what? They're not doing like any weird like TikTok, like here's things you didn't know about this place. They're not posting a video. They're not even necessarily vlogging. Vlogging might be worse than this, I think. But Instagram is just like photos. In this day and age, that's pretty fucking good, man. Always kidding. That's the same as always lying. I think it's a different level. Kidding and lying. Kidding is just lighthearted lies, right? It's just like, and I'm the prototype. Like I've used it too many times. So we gotta stop. I'm an example of a guy who will constantly make a bunch of jokes and like kid around a lot. Like I think that's true, but when you have to lock in sometimes and pivot from being like a jokester to being serious in order to give your jokes more impact, because then people know that okay, it's not always jokes with this guy, so we gotta pay attention sometimes. And then also it just provides contrast. It's why you gotta have some texture and some flavor in your meals and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I think always lying and always kidding are sort of like maybe kidding is the lighter form of lying, but at the same time, like It's the same thing as always honest would also be and change your ways, because you can't always be these things, right? I think contrarian is actually different. I think contrarians are just annoying. As a contrarian, sometimes I think you sort of like, you know, you're annoying when you're a contrarian, but you get some sort of like fucked up internal satisfaction from being the guy who's like, but you know, what if you let me devil's advocate here. Like, I think you, what the hell? I think you genuinely, like, and I'll say this, like, as the contrarian, I'll tell you, it's like it scratches an itch inside you to be like the guy who's saying, yeah, but what if, yeah, but, you know, to bring up the take that nobody else has brought up, to be like, okay, but what if, you know, yeah, it's some good points sometimes, and you go too far. I've said too much, but like then, to now that I've said it that way, it was meant to be a joke. Now it sounded like I was actually meaning something fucked up. I'm chill. I'm trying to use contrarians as an example, probably a bad example right there. But anyway, point being, contrarians are annoying, but like, I think it provides enough value to sometimes be a contrarian that I think it's not like, you don't want a contrarian to completely disappear, because I think like if you don't have any contrarian at all, then you don't have a nice like idea sphere. You know, you don't have a nice sort of chamber of concepts, to put it that way. Uber Eats, DoorDash, Target demo, so Zoomers, so me. I mean, literally, they're alright. I don't have a. I think they don't. If as long as you don't complain about the concept of it, then like I don't see a problem with it. Are you paying more than you should, and are you probably getting fleeced by the service platform? Yes. Is there a like huge problem in a lot of people's lives? No, which is why the target demographic, like, that's why you be buying it. I think obviously if you're complaining about, you know, how expensive it is, then that's where it becomes annoying, because it's like, yeah, man, it's expensive, just buy the food or don't buy the food. You know, I don't think that people are like, unless you're genuinely arguing like, okay, this should be like subsidized and cheaper and whatever. And like in some cases, I think that's true. I mean, like some restaurants and places still do, you know, in-house delivery and stuff like that, which is not a problem. Like, for example, I'll give you an example: Domino's, right? Domino's doesn't have a service fee. They don't have a this. They don't have that. You buy the thing. It's the same price there or here. It's just you pay like what, $5.95, $4.95 delivery fee, and Bob's your uncle. Maybe you give a tip. You know, in Australia, the tipping is creeping in, as it's always been, but it's like an optional / like, we're not at the level where if you don't tip at all, people will get mad at you. I think we're still at the level where, like, you know, you can get by on like a 5% even, like, and that's me sort of opting into the system, right? And they still got no tip as an option up front. But anyway, point being, I don't have a problem with the Uber Eats, DoorDash, Target demo. You know, and because I'm like pretty close to the Target demo, I'm gonna say they're alright. Crypto Guy Gambler, Crypto Guy Real. I think both of them have to go into change your ways, because I'm gonna give you a caveat for Real Crypto Guy, just for the 5 people in the audience who genuinely have invested in this, like, in a spiritual sense. There are genuine merits to blockchain technology and anonymity in transfer of funds, decentralized, you know, infrastructure, stuff like that. I understand that, but you're not gonna convince anybody to do. It's like, it's on the same level as, like, I don't know. Like, you're not gonna convince anybody to buy into the spiritual project of crypto. What you will do is inevitably be like, it's you know, buy now, it's going huge. You're selling people on it early. And I think, like, in both of these cases, it is, you can't be a crypto guy, but you can be a guy who's got some crypto without being a crypto guy, I think. 100%. Like, I don't have a problem with somebody who genuinely believes in the promise of cryptocurrency while not being a crypto guy, because they know the reality of the world right now is not shaped in a positive crypto atmosphere for the layman, at least. Okay, self-titled intellectual, 100%. I mean, I'm gonna put it right in Gold Experience Requiem. All right, this is the first one that really pisses me off, like genuinely. And I'll do this ironically every now and then, but as soon as you call yourself an intellectual, and this is the fucked up thing, right? Maybe not fucked up, but I think it's sort of correct, is that other people can call you an intellectual, but you cannot call yourself an intellectual, and ironically, doing so will make you not an intellectual, but like, if you are one, is it stupid not to recognize yourself as one? I think there's a difference between accepting perhaps some objective measure of your ability and the reality of where you are and who you are, and titling yourself as an intellectual, right? Like, it's like saying self-titled PhD. Like, you're not self-titled as a PhD. You got your PhD. You have one. You're a doctor of philosophy. There's no self-titling in there. As soon as you put yourself in self-titled, you're on the same, like, you're doing like dodgy alternative medicine stuff. You're like selling people things. You're trying to be an ideas merchant. Like, there's you get into all sorts of horrible things when you self-title yourself as an intellectual. But yeah, I just like these people. They know what they're doing, or they will never know what they're doing. Which is why I don't think they're capable of changing their ways. To be honest with you, they got to be put inside of the machine, as it were. Smart kid that fell off, annoying, and I am one, so I understand it from the inside out and outside in, right? Maybe I am not one, maybe it depends on your perspective on things, but I think certainly, like, the people have an insaneness. I include myself in some of these comments. People have a very strong connection to the idea that as a youth they were like a gifted kid, they got burnt out, maybe they didn't get the right setup. Oh, everyone said I was smart, but now people, now that I'm in society with everyone else, and I didn't catch up, and I never learned how to work or whatever, this and that. I think, like, you have to keep this annoying thought pattern in your own head, because, like, I recognize it as much as the next guy. Like, basically, when you're a smart kid who fell off and you talk about it, what you're looking for is people to tell you, like, you're looking for someone to suck you off, in a manner of speaking. You're looking for somebody to be like, no, it's okay. Like, you're fine. It's all good. This is real. You're looking to be. And listen, in a lot of cases, that's an important thing to have with someone. But I think, like, if you're a smart kid who fed off, you know that. That's the difference, right? You know that what you need to do. So the fact that you're not shutting the fuck up about this is an indictment on you a little bit, I think. Anyway, concert/festival guy. Harmless, a little annoying for me personally, but like, it's not so annoying that I'm gonna put my biases onto what I otherwise would consider just like an average person. They didn't say raves. I think raves is the one that's a bit sussy, right? At least, like, if you go to raves, I imagine you're a bit more of a partier. Concerts and festival maybe. Festival is the substance imbibement situation, right? But concerts and bundled in this means I can't really be that strong. And you know what? Whatever, fucking do what you want at the festival. It's none of my business. Cinephile, movie contrarian. They've put their own biases in here. I will put cinephiles in the all right tier. They can be annoying, but I think I would rather associate with the people who consider themselves like tasteful movie enjoyers than somebody who's like literally opens the door to completely anything. At least a decent cinephile will be able to talk to you about movies that are popular but still nevertheless good. A good cinephile will like give you a breadcrumb to try and convert you into a movie contrarian / pedantic movie enjoyer. You got to drip feed someone progressively tough. It's like you got to get a tolerance to the niche movies until you eventually get there, and then look back on yourself and you're like, how did I turn into this? But it's fine, you know. It's, anyway, half weeb, change your ways. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I'm kind of kidding. Half weebs are cringe and annoying, and weebs, and this is a bundle. Weebs are pretty cool. Okay. Generally nowadays, I don't call myself a weeb as much as I call myself an otaku, because like I just think it's weeb has lost meaning anymore. We used to have a genre of weeb. We used to have and when I say weeb, this is what I'm talking about, right? We used to have like weebs used to be more into the subject and material and the thing Japan type stuff than they are now. Nowadays, there are weebs who will be like into this weird critical consumption stuff. They'll be like, "Oh, I like some stuff, but some stuff is kind of weird," and that stuff I really can't respect. That's why I consider you you like half weeb or whatever. And this is like, honestly, I'm gonna put it in change your ways, because if you describe yourself as a half weeb, or if I consider you a half weeb, you gotta either pick one. You have to pick a lane. That's where I end up. You have to either be like, yeah, you can be a guy who's not a weeb at all, but enjoy like some stuff that you've ended up seeing, right? You can be like, oh, I enjoy the classics, but it's just like that's the critically acclaimed stuff. I'm not really invested in much else. Or you full send it and you become a weeb, which is my my woods, my zone, which is why I'm describing it as pretty cool, right? Because I think once you're a weeb, you've committed to an archetype, and you know what? I support it. I support it wholeheartedly. I just can't handle the kind of person who is afraid to commit to it, but at the same time is, able to like, they want to have that cake and eat it too. That they like the stuff, they're interested in the stuff, but they also want to appeal to normal society by saying like, it's there's some stuff I don't like and this and that. And I think that's like a little bit, that's just disingenuous, You're looking for the approval of two different sets of groups that don't approve of each other necessarily. So like, obviously, like both sides should be looking down on you. Like, pick a lane, join us or leave us. Like, what are you doing here? Anyway, open often horoscope hater. Harmless. I think harmless. To be honest with you, I think I used to be more open and often about horoscope hating. Certainly, if anyone ever brings it up, I'll find a way to make a little joke about it. It's annoying because it's a worse version of religion. Let me put on my Reddit atheism hat for a while here, dust it off a little bit, right? Like, if you're gonna be like respecting and deciding things off of made up stuff, you should pick cooler things to make up, right? You gotta pick like the Chinese zodiac. You gotta pick the like whatever your regional variant is. I just don't like horoscopes is like the most surface level nonsense. You have to pick a more interesting nonsense, and then I won't hate it because it's like at least you're proving an investment. If you're a horoscope person, it's like so surface level that I can't like. I feel like it's justified to hate on it. It's superficial. I think you gotta have more connections to some other interesting things. Then I can hate it in a different way. But you get what I mean when I say that. I think it's harmless because I think like it's like this is like a delta harmless. It's not neutral in the sense that it does nothing. It's annoying, but it's to an annoying thing. I think it cancels itself out. Smart kid ego, Andy. I'm stuck between change your ways and cringe/annoying. I think you can't be an ego, Andy. I think that's just like that's where it becomes a genuine problem. I think that's where you stop being able to form connection with people itself, right? Like a lot of, like, if I'm differentiating what makes something cringe and annoying versus something that I genuinely think people should change their ways, is when it really like represents a deeper flaw, in my opinion, right? Or I just don't like crypto guys, which is like whatever, right? So like if we're talking like deep indecision and like yearning to be accepted while not accepting the nature of the world in front of you, or it's just like, you know, an irreparable annoyance, or at least a needed to be repaired annoyance. Let's put it that way, right? I mean, you can't, like, especially like if you're a smart kid, like, come on, man. You got to pick something more earned to have an ego about. I say this as somebody who needs to earn something to have an ego about. You know, you gotta hone a craft, man. Then you can have an ego. Then it's not even that bad. Joe Rogan Target Demo podcast listener. I mean, that's gold experience requiem right there, man. Especially like this was made post Joe Rogan. Like, I mean, listen, Joe Rogan was never like anything, but at least like years and years ago, you could be like Joe Rogan's the podcast that everyone listens to, and he's got like the mainstream. But if you're still listening to Joe Rogan, you are so empty and waiting to be filled that I don't know who you are, and the only assumptions I can make are bad. You need to have, this is like, if they put you in God Experience Requiem's like potion, I hope it has a unique effect on you that causes you to come up with a personality, you know? Terminally broke is harmless. Like, apropos of nothing, absent context, if you're just terminally broke, like, what am I supposed to hate on you for having no money? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I'll spot you, bro. It's fine. If you're a good person otherwise, like, you know, you don't even really need to pay me back unless you have a complex around it, in which case it can be annoying. But then, like, I feel like as annoying as it might be for someone else, it must be much more annoying being terminally broke. Put in the comments, is it annoying being terminally broke? I have to imagine it's worse than annoying, so I think it's perfectly fine to put it in harmless. I wouldn't put it in there, right? I'm not gonna pretend that there's some sort of virtue to being broke, but whatever. Maybe there is, but not in this sense. Car salesman, that's just a guy. I mean, do they take advantage of people to try and, like, rip you off or whatever? Maybe. I can't say I really care. You know? This is a job that I am surprised that it still exists. That may eventually go out of businesses like car brands. You know, they realize they can just sell people. We'll get to a point where you can just order a car off of Amazon. You know, but until that point, the car salesman is just a guy. I'll put him in a little cringe and annoying. You know what? I think that's fair. But like, if you're talking car salesman versus most other, like, salesmen are annoying because they're selling you something, and you know that they're ripping you off a little bit. You're trying to get to a deal that they're willing to go to. Sometimes you just wish you could like whisper in their ear, be like, "Let's cut the bullshit. We're gonna spend an hour here talking about like, oh, this rate, this percentage, oh, but this car, oh, but this insurance. Just give me like the second best deal, the one that you can give most of the time. Save us all some time, and then if that's good enough for me, I'll pay it. If not, I won't pay it. But you can't press the skip button on them, which I think is the annoying part. CrossFitter, just a guy. I mean, in the modern day, there's so many worse ways to be fit and be annoying that I think, honestly, if you're a CrossFitter, I think that's fine. I think they're right. I could have possibly, like, there's so much more to be annoyed at these days that I really can't complain at this point at a CrossFitter. Public complainer. To be honest, completely harmless. Maybe a little annoying, but I think there's a balance to be had. You need some public complainers. You can't have everybody complaining because then society is like annoying as fuck. I think if you're a non-complainer, but you need somebody to complain, because if nobody complains, everyone just sits and like bears it, right? So you need some complainers. In fact, I might put it in there, right? Now, if there's too many of them, it becomes annoying. But I think it's nice to have somebody to complain, to take the heat off of you in some sense, right? because they're getting attention, and not necessarily always good attention because of doing this. But if they can result in like a solution, like complaining is not like a, you know, morally charged thing. You can complain about things in a good way and a bad way. It's like it's a tool in your arsenal. Good at everything doesn't talk about it. Honestly, I think it's pretty cool, to be honest with you. Now you might say, now in alongside that, I should put it, the good at everything is an ass. It's a little annoying to be an ass about it, and I think it's nice that you, when you're just like straightforward with it. Because here's the thing: if you're good at everything, there's a high chance that everybody knows you're good at everything, right? You're not gonna sneak by being good at everything. You don't need to remind people that you are, because when you do things, you're good at them. It speaks for itself, right? So when you're normal about it, I think it's like, would it be better to talk about it a little bit, to, you know, accept yourself a little bit at it and like make it a part of you a little bit? Yes, I think like if you want to elevate this guy to the homie, you got to have a little bit of humor about the fact that you're good at everything. No, don't be self-deprecating, but like, you know, use it to pivot into praising other people, maybe, you know, turn it into something more. But certainly in on the spectrum of good at everything, and then on the bottom there's like a sliding bar that's like, you know, uses it in a good way and then uses it in a bad way. Certainly using it in a bad way is bad, but I think like this is close to one of the better things you could do if you're good at everything. Certainly, like I think people sometimes people say like, oh, but you wanna, if you're good at everything and you don't talk about it, it can be a different kind of annoying. But I think like if you, that's people thinking on one level, and you got to take it a level beyond that, which is that they know that they're good at everything, and you know that they know that you know, and so on and so forth, right? If they know that you know how good they are at things, then talking about it is pointless, right? In some sense. So I think that this is honestly pretty cool, you know, an effortlessness and a sort of silent aura. It's nice to have sometimes. Now, being an ass is being an ass. I think that's self-explanatory. I think that if anything, it's a little better that they're good at everything. At least they're good at everything. If they're gonna be an ass, you know, we've compensated us somewhat. But certainly, it's annoying, especially if you've, you know, got a bruised ego, like I do sometimes. But anyway, we all do sometimes. Excited for birthday is 21. I'm gonna say it. That's pretty cool. In this day and age, where I feel like people are shamed for being excited about things. There's nothing wrong. Like, if you're like, I don't know, what's a 32? There might be an age where people would be like, because the older you get, the more it's like, okay, a birthday is an occasion of surviving still. But 32, you might be like, okay, that's very unimpressive. You should be excited for your birthday because you're doing something exciting, right? If you're excited for your birthday, you're planning something exciting, you eat some good food, you go somewhere nice for a change. I think it shows a healthy appreciation for the world that you're excited for your own birthday. I think that's the kind of thing that you should never lose. You should aim to be excited for your birthday, at least, you know, a little bit. You don't need to go like crazy for it. That's like your own volition that makes you do that. But I think if you're not excited for your birthday, I think I would put it like right between harmless and annoying. Because then you're like, oh, it's just another day. Like, it's your, like, have a little joy is kind of what I'm trying to say there. Cringe bet guy. Now this guy, I feel it doesn't exist these days. So I'm gonna put it in harmless because I don't really like. Like, okay, I'll give you $5 if we can do this type situation. Like, it's so harmless because like you just say no. You put cringe in it because you tried to make people put it in cringe. I'm not falling for it. It's just a guy. He's just saying shit. People don't carry around cash anymore. This guy doesn't exist. What's he gonna do? $20 says, and then you win. It's like, okay, what can I get your bank details? Can I get your Cash App? Can I get your Venmo, as Americans say? Like, it's not a thing. Weed guy always smoking. They're alright. You know what to expect with them, you know? So, you know what to do when you're there. You know when you need to be around them. Is it annoying if you don't have a choice as to how to interact with the guy? Yes, I think it would be annoying if it was like a, you know, you were forced into it. But I think having them as just like a guy in your options, I would not go as far as to call it cool, but I think it's alright. It's basically just a chill guy. Like literally the meme that doesn't exist, anymore because it's washed. It's an old meme, but it's that guy. He's just chill. He's not annoying about it, as we will get to the next guy. This guy 100% needs to change his ways. Talking about it's the same thing. Like you can substitute the weed for anything here, anything that any substance, any like, talking about it instead of doing it sort of situation. I think it's just like universally you have to change your ways because it shows an inauthenticity, right? It's projecting an appearance of something that you don't like perform or enact. So it's like, okay, well, if you're only talking about it but you're not doing it, then who are you? Basically, it's yeah. No, a lot of these examples I think is like something I generally dislike is like an absence of the self, projection of the self while not having anything in there. It's a problem. Always drinking. This is a difficult one because this has changed your ways, but not in like a I don't. This is like for their own good. They gotta change their ways because I think it's probably bad for them. Like as a person, honestly, I think they're alright, but like they have to change their ways. I think because this, like, if you're, I mean, like if you're always drinking that you can't be always drinking. That's like a thing. So I'm just saying, like, change your ways for the better. I'm not gonna put it like if this was jail, I think I would put them here. But since I've changed this to change your ways, like I think that this is something that they should adjust in their life. Then I think that putting it here is fair. Photographer only women. That's the homie right there, man. I mean, listen. I think people for photographer only women. This is like a prime opportunity to put it in jail, put it in what was it, death penalty, as if there's some sort of like. And I understand there's probably a like existing sort of atmosphere of people going like, that's is he okay? Is he not creepy? But like, if you're a photographer, I'm just gonna give you a blanket assumption of consent for the photographs you take, right? Otherwise, this would not be called photographer. It would be like, I don't know, criminal, creep. So they would put a different word to describe them. So that's my assumption, right? First off. Second off, given that's the case, like, I feel like everybody sort of universally like recognizes that like women are beautiful. Is it crazy to say such a statement? Probably not, right? But I think like if given that that's the case, is I'm just giving you like a proof by induction here, like then it should be great, like do we not all we all enjoy the photos of beautiful women, but you can't like, you know what I mean? It's like you enjoy the bread, thank the baker. Who's taking the photos of the beautiful women? It's the photographers. So you have to like to see the beauty of the form and capture it in media. Like you need an eye for it to do it well. It's the same as being an artist, right? So I think that this is the homie because I love to see the photos, quite simply. And it being only women, I mean, that's a specialist, right? If someone had only environments, you wouldn't be like, oh, this guy is so lame. You might be like, nice photo of the sunset or whatever. So, listen, I support this. I support only men. I support only whatever. Because as long as, like, you're in it with a desire for the appreciation of the thing you're photographing, whatever. I think it's beautiful, straight up. Conspiracy theorist. Uh, the problem with conspiracy theorists is that there's no longer a conspiracy. There's no such thing as a conspiracy theorist, and I think that the needle, the like overtone window for conspiracy theories has gone down into crazier. Right? I feel like a lot of things that would get you called a conspiracy theorist 20 to 15 years ago, maybe, are things that are more or less like in the mainstream zeitgeist nowadays. So if you're a conspiracy theorist in 2026, the kind of things that you're believing and the kind of things that you're saying are certainly out there. So I think but everyone's a little bit of everyone's got a conspiracy. Does that make you a conspiracy theorist? I think you can't be I'm going to put it here and explain. You can't be a conspiracy theorist, but you're allowed to have conspiracy theories. I think that's the line. It's the same with a lot of these things, right? Like, you can be into crypto without being called a crypto guy. You can, like, be into some anime stuff without ending up as a half weeb. You know? You can wear Patagonia and be a hiker without pretending, you know? But in this case, it's rather than pretending, it's like a sign of derangement if you've gone too far, I think, 100%. But everyone's I think you got to have some pocket conspiracies. Because if you don't have pocket conspiracies, then, you know, there's no spice on your food, basically. Disney adult, putting it straight and harmless, I think it's easy to make it a cringe thing. I think if you look at the bigger picture of like how someone might end up being a Disney adult, like, you know, the kids these days aren't even watching Disney. The kids these days are watching like Roblox challenges. They're getting addicted to vaping. So like Disney is for Disney adults primarily these days, and like the kids of the Disney adults, if they exist. So I don't really hold any hate in my heart towards a Disney adult, to be honest. So I might find it sometimes surface level cringe, but that's the video. Their existence is sort of their own, you know, life to live. I don't have a problem with it. You know, I mean, it would be hypocritical for a guy who just called himself an otaku like not so long ago to then be like Disney adults are a bridge too far. Like, I feel like that's a bit stupid. You know, barefoot or sandals only. This is just like a lot of Australians. They're alright. I don't see a problem. I was a big sandals guy. I say it was because my sandals, the grip on them is worn and I can't wear them anymore. So I'm looking for new sandals, but they're either too expensive or not in stock. So at some point I'll get good quality footwear. I need some sandals in my life. But also when it rains / in winter, it's kind of terrible time to wear sandals. You just get your feet wet for no reason. But anyway. Thinks he's good at basketball. I mean, he's actually good at both of these things do not speak anything to me. Because, like, this is the thing. Being good at basketball speaks for itself, right? It's just like you get in the court whether someone is good or not. I don't think that either, like, thinking you're good at basketball is probably funnier than being good at basketball. Being good at basketball is probably less funny, to be honest with you. But this is not a funniest guy tier list, and neither of these are very annoying. Especially for me, because I don't really care about basketball. You know? If this was CS, it would be a different story. You know? I think things he's good at CS, I would put it annoying for sure. But the fact that it's basketball, I think I'm like, you know, you're lucky that I don't know anything about your sport, really. Elon Musk, I mean, I just have to put him in gold experience record. There's no way I could put him in change your way. That's a bit too soft from the guy. You know? Like, whatever he's been doing for the past I don't know, 5 maybe years, maybe even more, ever since like the build up to buying Twitter. I think like the real pivotal like branching paths incident was the divers, when he called that guy some horrible things. And I think that's when like the mask slipped and everyone was like, "Well, this guy's this." I thought he was like the real Tony Stark and gonna save us with tech. And I think he like was. This is my moment to talk about Elon Musk. He was a bit high for his own supply for a while there, and so I think he thought that he could get away with it. He could like say whatever he wanted. So I think that the fact that he got such harsh criticism, probably like fairly, by the way, for that, he sort of went like, okay, so I've done, all these things for these people or whatever. He may not have been a strong believer in whatever woke version we were on back then, 1.0 maybe, right? And then he was like, well, I'm doing all this, but then I said this one thing, and now everyone's on my case. Well, now he got a brain worm basically, and he never came back from it. I mean, not to mention, whatever fraudulence and his history, and I don't know what's going on with the Emerald Mines. Like, there's a lot going on. Let's just say, like, the most annoying aspects of Elon Musk for me is how desperately and surface level his desire for like acceptance is, right? I think someone else mentioned this like a long time ago. That's the most disappointing thing about Elon Musk, is that it sort of gives you the prototypical example. I said that too many times, didn't I? Of like, money doesn't give you happiness, because he's been looking for validation for this long, right? It's crazy to me. But anyway, I mean, Andrew Tate, like, this one is for like as clear cut. You don't need me to explain it. They put it here so that you could put it in here, right? If like, I feel like and he's washed now anyway. Does anyone really care about Andrew Tate? Not even like, I don't even think he's got like a strong pull these days, man. Who cares about Andrew Tate anymore? But anyway, I don't think I need to spend any more time talking about Andrew Tate in the year of our Musk, the year of our Taint. Anyway, worked his ass off to be here. That's cool, man. Why would I mean, they didn't say like, and is smug about it or whatever. Guy who works hard. That seems like a good thing. Sneakerhead. It's something to collect. Honestly, I think it's alright. To be honest with you, if you're a sneakerhead, you probably have other fashion, like, at least somewhat associated. You can't be an only sneaker guy and not have good rest of your fit, because it doesn't make sense. You're matching stuff to the sneakers, right? And so, like, somewhat fashionable, bit of a collector. It's like a less, like, annoying version of a car guy, because a car guy, like, the stakes and the expenses are a lot higher depending on the car and the sneakers. Some sneakers are more expensive than some cars, but I mean, overall, a sneakerhead is not gonna look at your shoes and be like, if you're wearing shoes, if you're wearing nice shoes and they compliment you on your shoes, the conversation sort of just ends there. Whereas a car guy might go into a lot more. The thing is, cars have a lot more details. Sneakers have like fewer details, maybe some history and some lore, but you don't need to do anything about a sneaker. You can just wear it, more or less. That's what I mean. Fantasy football guy. That seems like an average guy. I don't think it describes anybody. I mean, we got fantasy in CS. I think that's just like, if anything, it's a little annoying, but it's whatever. Like, it's fine. It's like saying guy who's into sports. Like, yeah, that's like 80% of guys probably. I don't know. Like, you can't. It's too much to generalize. I can't paint all of them with the same brush. It's difficult, meaningless. In a band, being in a band is pretty cool. I'll say it. It's pretty cool to be in a band, especially nowadays. Because if you're in a band now, you either have a lot of money, or you're struggling, but you're doing it for passion. And probably the latter is the more likely one. So I think it would be nice to know somebody who was in a band, man. They would have interesting stories. They would, you know, hopefully have music. They might take you to some of their shows. You might get to travel to places you've never been to before. All in all, I think that, like, especially if you're actually in a band, I doubt you have the time to be annoying about it. Like, you're not a guitar guy if you're in a band because you're busy using your guitar in your band, you know? So I think it's like it's alongside working your ass off to be somewhere. It's I think it's fun to have in your arsenal of guys. Tiny cross earrings. I know what they're trying to do here, but I don't really care. Unfortunately, I don't really care. Like, let's be honest, among jewelry options, it's probably like the top three most popular, you know, easy to get, probably available anywhere for a reasonable price. Looks pretty good. Like, the cross imagery is some of the best imagery you can get. Like, they picked a great symbol. Although I do find it funny, like that's the one that the guy got nailed on, but it's also the symbol of like everything. I think it's like a little. It would be different if they had a little Jesus Christ on the cross on their ears. That might be a bit much, but just as a cross, like, I don't know, it's fine. It's a little cute if anything. Homeless. I mean, not just that Iran is harmless, but like, you know, I don't think it screams of a particular virtue. You know, it doesn't tell me anything about them that they're homeless. They just don't have a home. You know, you didn't include any other factoids about what you might prescribe to them here. You know, speaking as a, you know, been to the city, Sydney City. You know, you see your fair share, but most of the time, to be honest with you, they don't really bother you, and you don't bother them. And if anything, I know, well, I have a friend or two who's like a regular contributor. You know some of them personally. It's like, you know, they're chill. So I can't say I have any problems. You know, I feel like it'll be, to put it higher or lower would be to misrepresent like what the kind of person is. I'm just made sure that you can't criticize my choice. Schrodinger's racist, obviously. That's good experience directly. Because Schrodinger's racist is just a racist, but like knows that they can't be publicly racist and is annoying about it as a result. Right? If you're doing like an I'm not racist but thing, if you're, you know, joking, but the jokes are weirdly like making with like not racist overtones, not even undertones, and then you say something racist, and then, you know, it's just like, honestly, I would rather you be completely racist so that we know where we stand, you know, because they're hiding under the veil of humor to avoid taking a real stance because they're afraid of it. It's like the worst version of like guys who are afraid to be themselves. It's like guys who are afraid to be themselves, and both versions that we see are terrible. It's like, what will we do? Cigarette guy always has one and asks for a light. Harmless. You just say, I don't have one, and then they go, oh, okay. I don't carry around a lighter. I don't think I ever will. So it really has no impact on me. I might say like it's a bit annoying to have cigarette smoke, but then you just don't stand in the way of the smoke. You just go away. So I can't say I'm that affected. I missed one blank. The guy. It's a bit annoying to be a nostalgia guy. 100%. Everyone does it. Everyone loves it. It's cringe, but it's sometimes it's good to be cringe. You know, sometimes it feels good to be cringe. I think that's a core truth of the self, is that sometimes it feels good to be cringe. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up quickly because we're on like a long stretch, you know. Normal gym guy. No, a normal gym guy is honestly the homie, because a normal gym guy is what you want to motivate you a little bit. You know, the closest I've been to getting into a gym and committing to some sort of fitness routine is when normal gym guys will like talk to you and be like, it's fine. You go here, you go here. I'll help you out. That's what everyone wants. Is a normal gym guy, someone who is like somewhat educated in exercises and dieting and fitness, but is not annoying about it. Understands how much to talk to it about with people. How much about it to talk to with people. I think there's nothing you could want more, quite frankly. Now, on the other hand, the gym guy weirdo, I'm gonna put it in cringe/annoying. I don't think it's so bad as to change your ways, because like I think it's easy to become a gym guy weirdo. It's so common these days to fall into this as a substitute for a personality that at this point I feel like it's just annoying. You can't really be like, gotta pivot completely from this strategy, But I think, you know what? Maybe I should put it in change your ways. I think if I'm adjusting for inflation of weirdos, then the current weirdo gym guy is much weirder than gym guys have ever been, right? They're taking peptides and stuff. They're looks maxing, like to an unhealthy extent. And I think that's like you have to change your ways, 100%. But regardless, roster cards. I had to look this one up before the recording. I don't know. Maybe there's probably a deeper political issue that I'm missing on this one. I can't say I really care. Either way, this is not my bone. It's not my circus, not my monkeys. Unfortunate choice of metaphor there. I'm gonna be honest with you. And after look, I'm gonna leave that in because that was actually kind of it was funny, but it was not my attention. But it's a known metaphor, okay? That's not what I meant. But you know what I meant. The point being, I really have no idea what's going on. The roster colors are like representative of Africa in some way, Ethiopia maybe. I don't know. It's in a lot of the flags. Anyway, short guy. That's just a guy. I'm kind of a short guy. That's just a guy, man. I don't know. Tall guy, short guy. They might have a complex about it. So, I don't know. What do you want me to do about it, bro? Doesn't want to cause an issue. I'll say it. It's annoying. If your primary characteristic alongside other things is that you sort of don't want to rock the boat, I think it is a little annoying, a little cringe. To be like, yeah, but can we all just like lower the temperature and be like, everything is fine? The only reason that this is a thing is that there is an issue. In a lot of the cases, you don't want to keep an issue going, but if you're always not wanting to cause an issue, then when a real issue shows up, you're going to be actively harming situations, It's the same thing as always having an issue. I think it's like you got to pick your battles, and if you never pick a battle, then, you'll be left on the wayside. I think it's bad. Flannel sweatshirt combo, I mean, that's alright. I don't know. Am I supposed they're wearing flannel. That's cool. That's perfectly fine. Ideas guy. Ideas guys are also pretty cool, I would have to say. I would describe myself as somewhat of an ideas guy. You want an ideas guy to just like say some interesting shit sometimes to spice things up in life. But yeah, see if I get a clean zoom out here. Just to help people out. There's the tier list. Do you disagree with my choices? I bet you do. Put it in the comments. We'll have a nice and civil discussion. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. See you next time. Enjoy.